in Dublin a blessed stone. It used to be out in the park here. And as people passed by, they rubbed the stone and made the sign of the cross. The authorities tell us that the stone is 1,500 years old and was from a grave of a hermit here in Dublin. At the foot of the steps, the birthplace of Napper Tandy. I met with Napper Tandy and he took me by the hand and he asked me how old Ireland is and how does she stand. It's the most distressful country that ever yet was seen, for the hanging men and women, for the wearing of the greave. I'll tell you the story of the Brazen Head and how the Brazen Head survived. This is the oldest tavern in Ireland, going back hundreds of years. They were selling drink here when you didn't need a licence. Now, you see, Desi, in 1641, Rory O'Muir was living out in Bridge Street, and the specials out of the castle came, wrecked the hotel looking for him, and the hotel got compensation and rebuilt. And then after the Battle of the Boyne in 1690, King Billy came down here in his white horse, looking for James, and he kicked the place apart, and the hotel got compensation and rebuilt. In 1746, when the hue and cry was out for Charles Lucas, they came again, bashed up the place, more compensation, rebuilt. Of course, in 1798, Oliver Bond lived across the road, and the United Irishmen used it, and of course, after Bond and the Leinster Directory were arrested, they erected again, more compensation. And of course, Robert Demmett, he wrote his proclamation in there in 1803. Again, more compensation. In 1916, when the British were in the Royal Barracks, firing at John Houston in the Mendes City Institution, they missed and they hit the Brazen Head, wrecked it, more compensation, rebuilt. And in 1922, when the Republicans were in the forecourts, the Free State brought the guns down to the corner of Bridge Street, and the vibration of the heavy guns wrecked the foundation of the Brazen Head, more compensation, rebuilt. Now, the moral of that story is, Desi, if you're going to hold a revolution in Dublin, for God's sake, keep it away from the Brazen Head.
It wouldn't stand anymore.
We couldn't have done any more. But sure, I suppose if I hadn't got the compensation, it wouldn't have survived. But it's good to see it here, Desi, and long may you be behind the counter pulling the points.
Fair play to you, fair play to you.
Well, this is the window on the way upstairs. This is the old hotel where Dean Swift said, to do you well for a shilling. But that was 250 years ago. There was another fella stayed here nearly 200 years ago and left his message here in the window. John Lonigan of Waterford, who halted here on the 7th of August, 1786. To say he was a highwayman and that he wrote it on the window with his diamond ring. There was another family here and they framed their receipt. It's November 1882. I suppose it was Mr. and Mrs. Erickson and the daughter of the son. But they arrived in the afternoon and they had 4 small drinks which cost 1 and 3pence. And then they decided to have their dinner. So they had 3 dinners at 1 and 3pence each for 3 and 9. And then they decided to stay the night. So they got 3 beds for a shilling each, 3 shillings. The following morning they had 3 breakfasts at 1 and 6pence, 4 and 6. And they must have liked the old hotel because they stayed for their dinner and had 3 more dinners for 1 and 6pence each. And your man put a pound note on the counter, got a receipt for 18 and 3pence and 1 and 9pence change. You just want to play a game?
Yes!
Follow the leader?
Yes!
You have to do everything I do?
Yes!
Right, hands up. Hands down. Hands out. Now follow me. You're killed. The Corn Market is one of the oldest place names in Dublin. Dubliners bought, sold and ate their bread around this locality before the Vikings came. I'm standing with my back to the old wall of the city of Dublin. Notice how wide it is. It was also the wall of the old Newgate prison, which was inside here. And it was here that St. Oliver Plunkett was kept in chains before being taken to Tyburn for execution. Now, during the penal laws, when they were at their highest, and all the clerics were being banished out of the country to the Barbados, this jail was full of clerics. And among them was the Bishop of Dromore, Patrick Donnelly. And one day he discovered that he was the only remaining bishop in Ireland, and that if he died, the line of continuity from St. Patrick would be broken. So he called 3 priests aside. The first, Edward Byrne, he consecrated him Archbishop of Dublin. The second, Fergus O'Rourke, he consecrated him Archbishop of Killala. And the third, Fergus O'Farrell, consecrated Archdeacon of Armagh. All blessed and consecrated in Newgate Jail in Dublin, the 31st of August, 1707. And the week later, the 7th of September, Patrick Donnelly was dead. Eddie Dorn, artist from Cabra, north side, moving across the Liffey to try his hand at St. Audience and the Four Courts. I'm standing in the footprints of Wolfe Town, Lord Edward Fitzgerald, the Shears brothers, Samuel Nielsen, Robert Emmett, all the Young Irelanders, the Invincibles, the Fenians, John Mitchell, the Ardent Order, the Dublin Lodge used to meet here, the Legion of Mary, and the men of 1916, James Connolly and Padraig Pearse, because this is the passageway into the Tailors' Hall, the only remaining guild hall in the city of Dublin. Well, this is the garden of the old Tailors' Hall, or the Guild Hall. The tailors built their hall here in the year 1701. Before that, for centuries, they had their hall in Wyntaberton Street. The tailors were attached to the Guild or Fraternity of St. John the Baptist, and they had 2 banners that they carried in all their parades and Corpus Christi processions. One was St. John the Baptist, and the second one was Adam and Eve being cast out of the Garden of Eden naked. And underneath, the tailors had their slogan, "We make the clothes." Well, this place, as I said, all the organisations, the revolutionary movements, the Legion of Mary, the Ardent Order, they all rented rooms here for meetings. And in 1792, the Catholic Committee, who are working for a relaxation of the penal laws, met here, and it was known as the Back Lane Parliament. Now, they drew up a petition to the King of England. In those years, a petition would have to go to the Lord Mayor, to the Chancellor, up to the Viceroy, across the water, and then up the ladder on the far side in England. But the Catholic Committee came out of here and said, we don't want that rubbish. So they took the boat from the North Wall across to England, marched up to the gates of Buckingham Palace and demanded to see the King. The King was having his breakfast. So when he heard the Catholic Committee were there, he left his boiled egg, his toast and his marmalade, came down to the gate and took the petition from the Catholic Committee. And of course that started the ball rolling, which eventually led to Catholic emancipation in 1829. The Winstanleys have been Dubliners for countless generations. They were always very generous supporters of St. Audien's Church. The shoe factory goes back more than 100 years, but at present it's in the O'Neill family. In the 1760s, there was a John Winstanley, who, according to the corporation annals, was paid £5 for declaring war. And a month or two later, he was paid another £5 for declaring peace. I suppose with all the £5 got together with war and peace, he was able to start the shoe factory. The patron saint of shoemakers is St. Crispin. I suppose he'd take a heart attack at the type of shoes they're turning out today, but they're nice brogues all the same, St. Crispin. Well, Martin, how's it going?
That's a bad, Eamon.
How was Nitro? Are we off?
We're off now.
OK, where are we heading?
Fairly House.
Fairly House. We're going to Fairly House. Butchers and bakers and fishmen and everything. James Connolly said, Ireland without her people meant nothing to him. And what would Dublin be without its people? It's men and women, it's ladies and gents, it's young fellas and young ones, it's chisellers and mots, who are always waiting to give you a smile or a laugh or have a chat with you and treat you like a brother or a sister or a long-lost friend, even though they don't even know you.